resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding with Lakeland School System for relocation and reallocation of CARES Act funds.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. And I'm going to ask Shane if you would please enlighten us. And I see Mr. Corral here as well. So,
Yeah, just briefly from my standpoint, obviously this is our second allocation of CARES Act funds from Chevy County. We received $407,000 maybe 3 months ago or so, looking at Michael. This will be our second allocation of $238,300. In evaluating our needs in comparison to Lakeland School System needs, it would be our recommendation as staff to convey the full $238,300, 228,300, sorry, to Lakeland School Systems, and I will invite Dr. Horrell up to kind of talk about his needs and expenses as a result of the COVID.
Thank you, Shane, and let me start by saying to the Board of Commissioners how much we appreciate the city and the board's support during the entirety of this pandemic and our reaction to it. And I know it's been a lot on everybody, but certainly we've received nothing but help and support and encouragement from the Mayor and Board of Commissioners, and we're very grateful for that. And I feel like we had a good first 9 weeks of school, and looking forward to continuing to try to keep our students and staff safe. I'll continue saying it as long as it's true. As of this moment, we have not had any student issues, at least that have been reported to us or that we're aware of, and have had one staff. I know. We'll always have the first 9 weeks, no matter what happens next. But and also want to express, I know on behalf of the Board of Education, has also expressed our thanks to Vice Mayor Roman and his constant support of the school system, and we look forward to continuing to work with you as a parent, as we also work with you in Lakeland School System. I also want to thank the Board of Commissioners for considering this reallocation of funding. As you know, we try to be good stewards of our funding. In fact, earlier in the pandemic, when Shane and I believe Bill Patterson asked if there were needs that were unmet, at the time we said no. We had our own CARES Act funds, and we felt like that we would have enough in place based on what we thought our needs were at the time. As we continue to evaluate what it would take to safely open schools, and particularly what it would take to open schools with 100% of our students that wanted to attend 5 days a week, what that would look like, we did quickly realize that we would have to dip into, what we were planning to do is dip into our reserves to pay for some extra staffing and to pay for some extra safety equipment and to pay for some extra digital equipment as well. So just to give the board an idea of the types of funds that we would spend these, the types of items we would spend these funds on, I just wanted to give you a few pieces of information. We did not experience a drop in revenues, frankly, and our sales tax turned out better than we anticipated. We are fully funded in terms of the BEP funds that we expected to get, so these are basically additional expenditures that this would be covering. And $110,000 of this money, if it were allocated to us, would be used to cover half a year's salary and benefits of the 9 temporary education assistants that we hired because we had to spread students throughout the building. In particular, at the middle school, we basically needed more bodies, adult bodies in the building to help supervise students. So that is about $110,000 of those funds. There was just over $80,000 in basically adapters, equipment, engineering. We added Wi-Fi spots, connectivity in our hallways. We do have students that are in the hallways to make sure that we're 6 feet apart throughout the day, and we put a rush on that to make that happen, and then that wound up being a significant amount. And then there was about $10,000 in various cleaning supplies. Obviously, we're cleaning more often, we're cleaning differently than we were prior to the pandemic. And then numerous other more smaller line items for cleaning and safety. So the vast majority of these funds, if they were allocated to the school system, would go towards the additional staff, additional basically digital access for our teachers and students, and additional cleaning and safety supplies. So I'm certainly open to any questions if you have them.
questions, but I would like to make a motion. It looks like it is, I'm sorry.
You're good.
It looks like the line item is empty for us to put a dollar amount. Did you say that was 228,400?
228,300.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion that we amend section 3, paragraph B with the amount of 228,400. 300. I've tried twice now to get an extra. 228,300.
I'll second that. All right, we have a motion and second to fill in the amount. I won't try to repeat it, I think we got it right the first time. And so with that, that makes the resolution complete. But before we vote on it, I just want to pay Ted another compliment. I've said this before sitting in this seat, but it is so refreshing to hear his voice on the task force call every Tuesday morning, reporting to all of the leaders of Shelby County what the municipal school systems are doing, and specifically what Lakeland's doing. And I'm just here to tell you, it makes me feel great that we're represented in that manner there in that forum. And Ted has done a stellar job of reporting for all the municipalities. And I say thank you, publicly for doing that. And I look forward to hearing you again next Tuesday. All right, motion's on the floor and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, fantastic. Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Roman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Great job you're doing for the students, and I know it's tough during this time.
Thanks.
This money will go to good use for sure. Okay, regular agenda. Madam Clerk, if you would please read item 2, ordinance final reading.
Ordinance, final reading, amending the fiscal year 2020 through 2021 budget, passed by ordinance 20-285.
All right, now do I have a motion to bring this to the floor since I jumped the gun earlier?
Motion. Second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Gonzalez, seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any further discussion beyond what Michael was able to share with us? All right, hearing none, Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll. Final reading.
Vice Mayor Roman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
5 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Once you get caught up, if you would please read resolution number 2. I'm sorry, number 3.
Resolution to consider the plan development amendment for Lakeland Commons.
All right, do I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Dial, seconded by Vice Mayor Roman. The floor is open for discussion. Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I will kick us off on this conversation. I've asked for a couple months now to make sure that the packet was complete, and I just wanted to, as a matter of procedure, do we have a complete packet, Mr. City Manager?
The items that you requested were received. It was about 2-3 weeks later that we received the documents, and I pushed those out to all of you. So yes, the packet is complete from that standpoint.
Thank you very much. So a little bit of history on this. I know Corey Brady has done a great job giving us some history as far as where we are on the project now, but I want to take it just back even a step further. This project has a long history, and what I want you to pay attention to when I talk about the history is how many different administrations this project has gone through. And then we have to make a decision of what this administration is going to do. So in 2006, 14 years ago, many elections ago, there was a comprehensive plan that was done. That was basically 1 year after I did leadership in Lakeland. I got to know everybody at City Hall, got to meet all of the BOC members, and we met for once a month for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. It was a really cool experience. you really have to take yourself back to 2005, 2006, and even all the way through 2013 to really get a feel for what the city was trying to accomplish at that time. Commissioner Stephanie, I'm sorry, I don't remember the last name, but Anderson, yes, Commissioner Stephanie Anderson was leading the charge to basically say, okay, Lakeland, let's have this discussion. Let's have a tough discussion of what you want to grow up and look like. You know, you're roughly 33 years old. What do you want to look like when you're older, right? And so we did the comp plan. At that time, the city of Lakeland had multiple arborists on staff, multiple planning. Through the years, our city staff had grown to a point where we looked kind of like a medium-sized city. And so we started acting like that. And so we did a comp plan and we said, hey, if this was a perfect world in that 2006 comprehensive plan, where would you put different items? Where would you put neighborhood centers? Where would you put, you know, agriculture? You name it. We sat down and went through, I was a part of them, but they sat down and they went through line by line, when they grow up, what do they want to be? So that happened in 2006. And at that time in 2006, they put a residential support center or commercial property at the corner of C-Tick and Highway 70, which is now Lakeland Commons. That property was purchased over 40 acres with the intent of helping the city of Lakeland to accomplish their comprehensive plan. Because when you put the comprehensive plan out there, you're saying, hey, if somebody's willing to invest in the city of Lakeland, this is what we would like to see. I'm sure that happened a lot faster than city leaders were expecting. They had always considered themselves more of a bedroom community and haven't realized just how attractive it is out here to young families, to new families, to just everybody. It's a beautiful terrain, nice people, you name it. And of course, at the time, super low property taxes. Actually, no property tax. And so that happened in 2006. And so then obviously we all know what happened. The land was purchased and they tried to develop it. So then it went through different negotiations and it ended up in court. Unfortunately, it ended up in court. They negotiated back and forth, and apparently there was a settlement. You know, I don't know all the details, and I don't claim to know all the details, but I do know that in that settlement, they were approved to have a portion of it to be single-family homes, roughly 35 single-family homes on 4,000 square foot lots. That 4,000 square foot lot is a very important number to think about because it's going to contradict or have a conflict with Lakeland regs down the line. But regardless of that, so they were said, okay, if you were able to go through the approval process, the courts gave them 10 years to get through the approval process. This approval process, which that was in 2011, so that means if they hadn't started on this by 2021, all of that would pretty much go away, right? So anyway, without going too much into that, they were approved for a lot of commercial on most of the 40 acres, and on a portion of the 40 acres, roughly 35 single-family homes on very small lots, and it was designed for them to be back-loaded garages, right? So something that was kind of unique. What I mean by unique is that it was almost zero lot line homes or very small homes butting up right next to a commercial center. At that time, the whole concept of mixed use had been talked about, walkable neighborhoods had been talked about. If you guys remember Mr. Jones and his Lakeland Green concept was really big at that time. And so people were starting to talk about what does it look like to live in a community where you can pretty much park your car for the weekend if you wanted to. And we've seen it come to fruition all around the country. But Lakeland was wanting to get into that. But they had this agreement. And so in 2013, a second thing happened that the city of Lakeland decided to go through. They decided to go through their land development regulations. Again, we have multiple planners on staff, multiple contracts of people that were brought in to help us to do this, and we go through our land development regulations, LDRs for short. And in that time, they say, okay, this is where you would want things to be, but based on what you identified in 2006, you really need your zoning and other things to match up with that. And so in 2013, they decided to change the zoning of the neighborhood center to type 5. So the block we're talking about of land at the corner of C-Tick and Highway 70 was now approved for type 5, was now approved for type 5 buildings, right? So then I asked you, what does type 5 mean? Well, if you take a look at R6 or R7 of type 5, it allows for up to 20% of the entire property to be used for multifamily. So again, this was the same administration, probably different players, but again, Mayor Carmichael at the time, 2006 was the mayor, 2011 was the mayor, 2013 was the mayor. And so I have to assume that this was his policy to want this neighborhood center where it is. Why it wasn't negotiated is beyond my understanding, because they signaled time and time again that if somebody wanted to build it and had the money to build it, then this is what we want in this area. So 2015 comes along and Mayor Carmichael is no longer the mayor, so now we have a new administration, we have Mayor Bunker. And Mayor Bunker, I can't speak for him, I was on the board then either, but they saw that, you know, there could be a potential large-scale multifamily property here. So they decided to go to the table and actually negotiate. And so rather than negotiating the whole project, they negotiated for Section D. And Section D was the part that had 35 single-family, 4,000 square foot lots on it. And I asked you at the beginning of the conversation to remember the idea of 4,000 square foot lots. And the reason why is because when the LDRs came out, 4,000 square foot was no longer an acceptable lot size. So now we had an approval of 35 single-family lots that didn't match what 2013 said that we wanted to build as a city. So they went to the table and they said, okay, if we could build something, what would it look like and where would you want it? So they said, we would like to build a mixed-use development. A mixed-use meaning that it has a townhouse concept. We're all infatuated with the idea of Franklin and West Haven, and so we wanted to look as close to that as we possibly can. And the developer said, you know what, if you know, I've been dealing with this for a while, I'm looking to get some return on my investment, I will do that. And that is where I will have the residential component of my development. If you take a look at the documents, they did not deal with any of the rest of the development. It was only Section D. I've heard through the grapevine that the agreement was for that to be the only place that residential went. However, I did not find it in the documents. So regardless of that, they have an agreement. So what they're building out there right now was approved in 2015. And if you take a look at it, they've got a lot of work going on, a ton of money going out there. They've already got wood placed out there. They are building the mixed-use multifamily. So what we are talking about today was the conversation that was had in 2018. In 2018, Mayor Bunker said, you know what, we are trying to build a second fire department. We had done a study a few years back that looked at the possibility of moving City Hall, and we did both of those things. And you know what, you're eventually going to do something with your property. Is there any way that we can work together? And so, again, at that time, I was part of the conversation. I was on the BOC. And so I voted for a town square concept that would allow us to take the townhouse concept along with the retail below and the residential above, mix that with a town hall as well as a fire department, because we were at that time, we had already voted to have our own Lakeland Fire Department. We had actually gone through the process of having the state legislature change state law so that we could have a fire department. So we did all of these things, and so it seemed like that was a deal. However, obviously we know that Mayor Cunningham defeated Bunker, and so the MPC completely switched over. When the MPC completely switched over, it wasn't done with the same people. Mayor Cunningham put former Mayor Carmichael in, and several other people that used to be there with him. So we kind of are back at that stalemate where Mayor Carmichael was in 2013, as opposed to making the progress that I felt like we were making in 2015 and 2018. So that leads us to today. Thank you all for going on that history ride with me. That leads us to today, and if we're asking about my opinion, if we're at, which you will, I'll vote on it here in a minute. I wanted to talk to my fellow colleagues about really thinking about what you want your legacy to be when it comes to Lakeland Commons. I hope that I have another item on this agenda. I don't know how this vote will go, but I have another item on this agenda. And I want to continue the conversation of what it looks like to have a town square concept. When I voted on the Lakeland concept plan in 2018, I voted with what I felt like relative certainty that we would have a fire department and we would have a civic use, whether it was a city hall or something of that nature. Those two have not come to fruition, and it doesn't look like they're going to come to fruition in the near future. So I'm going to end up voting no on this resolution because I would like for us to go to the table and find more certainty about what the town center concept looks like for Lakeland. And I want this administration to put their stamp on it and be the one that gets it over the finish line.
All right. Any other discussion or comments? Would you like, you have the floor.
Thank you. My major concern is that in November 2018, 250 apartments were approved. And I guess it got past most of the people. I was looking at area D and it was took 150 number when that TIF was going on. But your TIF is approved for 250 apartments. And there's a lot of folks in Lakeland who don't want that now. And I think we got to consider that. I think it's important that the feelings of the folks are taken into consideration here. When you add 250 to the Lake District, that's 816 apartments in Lakeland. And that's a substantial number. I'll be interested. That's my 2 cents for right now, but just won't.
Okay. Anyone else like to comment? I just want to add a couple little things, and I appreciate the history lesson. I've looked through it as well myself, all the way back to the beginnings. I heard the term Franklin. I heard that used numerous times when I was campaigning. I made it crystal clear to everyone who supported me and voted for me, this is not going to turn into Franklin, Tennessee. This is Lakeland, Tennessee. We are our own unique entity in the state. No one else can be Lakeland, Tennessee, and we don't want to be Franklin, Tennessee. We don't want to be like any of the other municipalities in Shelby County, in my opinion. I feel like the citizens of this city felt that I was serious about that, and I say that again tonight because I said that on many people's doorsteps. This is not Franklin, Tennessee. We don't have the country music stars money living in Lakeland, Tennessee. So what do? We make the best of the assets we have. It's the conservation, it's the terrain, it's the large lots, it's the big homes, it's the people that have invested $500, $800, $1 million in their houses to live in Lakeland. Why? Because Lakeland is unique in and of itself in Shelby County. None of the other municipalities can duplicate this. The last thing I want us to do is turn into East Wolf Chase. We are not going to build Germantown Parkway and Cordova in Lakeland as long as I'm sitting in this seat. So I just want people to understand where I come from in my heart of hearts and what I believe when I stepped up to be a servant of the people. That what I told them on their doorsteps is exactly what I'm doing, and tonight is the night I'm going to make a statement. It was convenient that the 250 apartments were left out of the conversation because that took place 2 days after Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Dial, and I were all three elected. At a special meeting right here in City Hall on November the 8th, the election was on the 6th. The citizens had no idea they had 250 apartments shoved down their throats in a TIF in which we give tax incentives for a developer to build apartments in Lakeland. Everybody let that settle in because that's what happened. It's on the record. I was reminded of that when I had a meeting with the developer and our city planner who's on basically a liaison for us. And he actually gave me the sheet from the resolution that night at the special meeting. I still have it. Matter of fact, I might just frame it. But anyway, that's how I feel about it. And I believe the citizens have spoken very loudly, especially in the last few weeks, in the last month or so. There's just no taste in Lakeland for apartments right now. And I understand the whole concept of the lofts over retail and all that. And it sounds flashy. But what it does is it brings masses of people to a small city who doesn't have the infrastructure in place to support it, whether it's the schools, whether it's our sewers, it's everything. And that's actually in part of my resolution that we moved up, and we'll hear in a few minutes, is those specific items. You know, we can't put the cart before the horse. We are a small city. We're the youngest city in Shelby County. We have got to invest in our infrastructure and have the nice to have things come after that. And quite frankly, that's how I feel about it. And I appreciate your whole concept of looking back at what a town center would look like and what kind of a statement we can make from this particular board. So that's all I have to say. If anybody else would like to come in, I'll put my mask back on.
Do you mind if I address you directly?
Sure, absolutely.
What is your plan with Lakeland Commons? That's not the question.
I really don't have a plan personally myself for Lakeland Commons sitting here right here tonight. But I think we could, in fact, like you say, if you want to sit down with developers willing, and see what we can come up with to make that something viable that the citizens that have invested their life savings, some of them in this city, I'm more than happy to do that. We have a new planner. We've been through 3 planners in the last 3 years. I have all the faith in the world in our new one. It comes from Atoka, which is another small and up-and-coming rural city. So Portland, I'm sorry. Where did I get Atoka? That's Public Works Director. I'm sorry. Well, that's one of those things. I guess I'm saying I'm getting old. But yeah, I'd love to see us figure out what we could compromise on. I'm always a firm believer in compromise. I believe compromise is how we make the school work. So anyway, I think we can do that. But would you like to have the floor? Absolutely. Commissioner Dodd, you have the floor.
We all have a big vision for what we'd like to see this city become, and I've been here for 21 years now, and I intend to stay and would like to see great things become of the city. And to do that, we need smart growth development that is needed for this area, and a quality community within a plot of land, which would be that town center concept. And the sales tax revenue from something of that sort would help us all greatly, take some of the stress off of the property owners' backs with property taxes. And I think that there needs to be a firm vision from what we would like to see Lakeland Town Commons become, or Town Square, or whatever we end up deciding we want even the name to be of this development. It's been a long time coming, and just like every other project that I've been involved with, the dog park, the Zadie Cool Playground, even the amphitheater took a long time to get things done. Getting into government, I didn't realize that it was really as slow as it is, but it certainly is. And it is time for people who have lived in Lakeland, who would like to see some things come along, some sit-down restaurants, some places to shop locally, some places for us to spend our own money within our own community, to come on out of the ground and get done, seen through to fruition. And we are on the cusp of that with lots of our parks projects. And this community, this concept and the Lake District concept has been coming for so long that I believe our citizens have lost faith in us to see any project through to the finish line. And we need to move things forward, but in a very specific, carefully thought out plan to get it done so that the vision of the majority of these people that live here will enjoy and be proud of what we develop. And that's what we're here to do. And I agree with the mayor that, I don't particularly have anything in mind, but I'd love to come to the table and see what we can get done with the remaining area of this without completely stressing our school system potentially and completely upsetting so many citizens with the term apartments, even though they're townhomes and they're places to live above businesses. There needs to be a better understanding of our citizens as well. So many of them are just mentioning that they didn't even know this was happening. And that's on the citizens. They need to be tuned in, and not just during an election year, and not just when it brings an issue to the table that makes one candidate seem more desirable over another candidate. Everyone needs to really take note in what is happening in Lakeland and voice your opinion before it's time to go to the polls to vote. This has been coming along for a long time. And it's surprising to me that so many people were not aware of it. And it's distressing to me that we work hard to do what we do here and then get to a point where we're being beat to death over the head over one word, apartments. And I just wish that everyone would be more diligent in knowing what's going on. If you drive down Highway 70, you can see that large area of dirt and piles of dirt and large machinery. And that's been going on for many months. And for it to come down to 2 weeks before we go to the polls and there are arguments about it is distressing to me. So citizens, please stay in tune every day, every week, however often you think you need to be aware of what's going on. And don't wait until it becomes a problem and then start beating people up over it. And yes, if you have a vision for what you'd like to see, get involved, speak out, email us, call us, tell us what you would like to see. Don't come to us with problems. Come to us with solutions that you would like to see happening in our city. That would be a whole lot better way to grow our city in the way that the citizens want. But we have to know what you want. And it doesn't always need to be in a negative manner. It's hard to defend things when you're being attacked. It's easier to listen and to be accepting of people's opinions when they're offering to help in a creative, constructive manner. So I hate that it took this issue to bring that all about, but I think it needed to be said. And I agree, we need to sit down and come to the table and determine what it is that we want to see done. But we can't take 3 years to do it. We need to do it swiftly and correctly and get something that everyone in the city can be proud of.
Commissioner Wright, you have the floor.
I echo many of the sentiments that we've discussed, that you guys have discussed. It's really unfortunate in 2006 and 2013, I think what was put together wouldn't exactly reflect what people in Lakeland wanted anyway. And that's why I've talked about it ad infinitum about a 2040 vision plan, which basically would bring in citizens from every area of Lakeland to actually reassess and be able to redo what we were talking about. I believe, and I've expressed this in multiple platforms, I believe most of our efforts need to be focused at the exit, where it's already commercial. Heavy emphasis on conservation. I'm not trying to add more apartments. Actually, I'm not adding any new apartments that we're not already having entitlements way before I was even living in Lakeland. So I know that we need to get something done better. I think that would reflect what citizens want. And so thank you for that. I'll go ahead and let him.
All right, Commissioner Gonzalez, you have the floor.
Mine goes back to November of 2018. And I believe the mayor and I came up here and spoke to the board and asked you to wait on approving this TIF. Having not, we weren't successful with you guys, so we went to the county commission. And of course, they didn't listen to us either. So it amazes me that after two commissioners here approved 250 apartments, all of a sudden, you're not approving them. And I understand why, and I agree with you on that. But the time to put the brakes on was in 2018. Now, we're 2 years into this. Mr. Smith spent a lot of money on this. And I'm at a loss of what to do. I just think it's something that should have been thought about in 2018, and it didn't happen. There was a rush to get this done, to get the TIF approved. So, all of it.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll on resolution number. Time out. Would you like to speak? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, please. Thank
You have the floor. Please come to the
I'll be
podium.
very brief, guys.
You know the drill. Name and address for the record.
I do, I'll be brief. Corey Bennett, 9967 Benwood Creek Code, Collierville, Tennessee, Integrated Lane Solutions. Mr. Richard Spore is with me tonight, as is Vince Smith. Again, being very brief. I want to touch on something that Vice Mayor Roman mentioned. From a developer standpoint, we have regulations, we have a timeline, we have history, and we have to follow that history. If you look in Article 3, Section 2 of the zoning ordinance, if you look under C1 and C2 zoning districts, if you look under the neighborhood commercial district, you will see multifamily is permitted by right in upper stories. That is the same as if there's a 50-acre piece of property that is permitted single-family 25,000 square foot lots. That is an entitlement. That entitlement was verified. The project was originally designed to run a conventional center pre-recession that was based upon an anchor grocery store. As the city evolved the codes, which I was involved in back then as well, the trend was pushing more to mixed-use developments. The code represents that mixed-use development. It's a guideline for us on what we're going to do. So following the 2011 approvals, we have trended working with, at the time, Mayor Carmichael, Jay Higby, Eric Bridges, a lot of good work spent towards trying to mitigate or migrate this to a mixed-use development. And that is what we did. We prepared a plan that converted Lakeland Commons. We changed the name to Lakeland Town Center. We were doing that to have an integrated center, which is exactly what the code recommends for this area. You can turn to the page and you can read it, and it says it. And that's what we've done. To that regard, you know, this isn't just a 2018 thing, and it has been going on since 2011, because in 2011, this ordinance was being developed. So we were working with the city in 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, all the way through this process. And we have been working with this. The goal line continues to move. But most importantly, what I want to add is, and Mr. Gonzalez, you mentioned it, this PD amendment tonight has nothing to do with the apartment use. We're not asking for more apartments. This amendment is not requesting more apartments. Those apartments are previously approved. It is but one puzzle piece of this development. It is only one puzzle piece. And I understand the narrative on social media, especially surrounding the apartments, the misinformation that's been, and it's a lack of general knowledge, quite frankly, and it's unfortunate. But this PD amendment that we're requesting is just a procedure. I think Mr. Mr. Dunham, the complainer Dunham, would say, yeah, we have an approval, and now we need to create the governance of plans to represent that so everything's copacetic and staff can administer the project. That's simply all we were trying to do. That said, we've all worked together. I respect each and every one of you. Obviously, we'll sit down at the table. That's what we want to do. But I just didn't want the people that are listening in to think that this was a hasty decision. This has been going on through this city's evolution since 2006. And it is now almost 2021.
So that said, I'm gonna stop. Mr. Spore, may have something to say. Thank you for your time.
I'll be very quick. My name is Richard Spore, I'm 10781 Bethany Place. And I'm one of the lawyers that work on the TIF financing, so I thought it might be a good idea just to sort of put something in perspective on that. I want to piggyback on something that Commissioner Gonzalez said. Lakeland's own IDB and the developer closed on TIF financing in good faith based on the approval of a specific TIF plan. They closed on that financing. They've been drawing proceeds on that financing to spend money like water on infrastructure that is designed to support the approved TIF plan. In 14 months and 9 days, the project has got to start making principal reduction payments on that TIF financing. And if construction is delayed on the approved TIF plan, with the result that you don't have adequate tax increment from the project, then you're going to have a real problem come January 1 of 2022. It's going to be a big mess. That's it. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner
Just
Gonzalez.
one last point. I have been attending those IDB meetings, and I've got to commend the developer because the draws are being made, the money's being spent, and there's progress over there. But again, it's a shame that we've got to this point. But unlike other developers in our city, we know what he's spending the money on. We know he has a tip, and I commend him for that.
Sure, I will finish my comments with saying that I try to be very reserved because I understand, as Mr. Spore said, there will definitely be a second layer to this conversation. And so I'm trying to be very measured in my talks. However, I've been accused of rushing a decision. I've been accused of not listening to the people. I've been accused of just blatant trying to get something approved without any regard of what the outcome is going to be. So you all just sat here and heard that by right they have the ability to put the residential above the retail as multi-use. You've already heard that they have, basically by right, they already have an approval from 2015 to build what they have now. You've basically heard that this is a formality and they plan on following up as such. So now that you've heard all of those things and you completely understand, we have to take into consideration the second layer of this conversation. All of those things were right before the 2018 conversation happened. This gentleman did not have to sit down and say, you know what, we would like to gift land to the city of Lakeland. We would like to be a partner with the city of Lakeland. We would like to come together and have some place that attracts, that keeps government entities like a firehouse or a city work center, to where we have more and more eyes, to where we feel more and more comfortable about the level of possible crime or anything, or even activity around the area. He didn't have to do all that. I did not lead this negotiation. I was part of the conversation that was had. I was very proud of the leadership that did a private city partnership. And so now that you know all those things, what do you think are the odds that they continue to work with us and that developers want to continue having a public-private partnership if this is where it's going to get them? So again, I think it's important to keep my comments very vague and brief, so I will do that, but just want you to think about that.
Right, any other discussion? All right, I'll close the floor on discussion and ask Madam Recorder if she would please call the roll on resolution number 3.
Vice Mayor Roman,
Pass.
Commissioner Dow,
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Pass.
Commissioner Wright,
No.
Mayor Cunningham,
I'm going to abstain.
coming back to Vice Mayor Roman,
Abstain.
coming back to Commissioner Gonzalez.
Abstain.
Okay. We have 2 noes and 3 abstentions. Yes.
fails. We have a change in the agenda to roll in item number 13. So Madam Reporter, if you would please read resolution number 13 next in the agenda, please.
Resolution 13, authorize the city to seek approval of use of TIP to fund public buildings at Lakeland County.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made by Vice Mayor Roman, seconded by Commissioner Dial. The floor is open for discussion on item resolution number 13. I would ask Vice Mayor Roman if you would please enlighten us.
Thank you, sir. Regardless of whether or not this item passed or failed tonight, the previous item, which was item 3 that we just discussed, first of all, let me preface this. This is an idea to put out there that I hope that the mayor and this board runs with. I have no ability to really put my stamp on this idea. However, as we've been thinking about this over the months and months, I've been reading more and more articles trying to come to a decision that we just came to. One of the articles that I read, I believe it was commented by Mr. Smith, that said basically if you were to take a look at the economic impact that it was making today versus the economic impact that it was making 2 years ago, or projected impact that it was making 2 years ago, there would be a substantial difference. And so I'm trying to think about, my vote in 2018 was based on having a relative certainty that there would be a town square concept. And I think if you think about the TIFs are meant for some sort of public use. And I think that's where the rub comes in. I don't want to use anybody's name, but we do have a TIF, but at the same time, we don't really have a public use to go along with it. We could argue all of those things, but regardless of that, I think it's important for us in this town center concept to continue to try to flesh that out, try to make that deal, and I'm appealing to the mayor and this board of commissioners to really digest this idea and really run with it, because like I said, I can't do anything with it. So knowing that there's a high likelihood that the economic benefit is greater now than it was 2 years ago, that means if you were to, you have the ability, it may not be approved, but you have the ability to revisit the TIF and the TIF amount. The TIF amount, right now this gentleman's got roughly $5.5 million that he can use for the infrastructure of his land, for the infrastructure of this project. If it were to be redone, you have to also remember we only gave him like 75% of what he could have applied for, right? Again, trying to be vague. But the idea is that if this was recalculated, and again, last time we're going to use my numbers, they've been right every time, but you have never acknowledged that. But anyway, regardless of that, if you were to renegotiate, if you were to revisit the TIF, there could be money that would allow you to go vertical. What I mean by that, Mr. Mayor, is that the state would have to approve it, but because it's for a public good, there's a high likelihood that if the monies were there, you would be able to use the TIF funding for a public good, which would be, in this case, on this resolution, I looked at two different ideas, and again, I will submit to you guys. Again, it's completely up to y'all, but the idea here is that with the annexation in the city of Memphis and Shelby County, there has been possibly identified gaps that they would like to fill when it comes to fire coverage. I had very, very preliminary conversations. Nothing is obviously able to be put on record, but there did seem to be some interest in Mr. Mayor and you having a conversation with them to see if they would man a firehouse if we built it. Again, them manning the firehouse, not us. So $2.6 million looks like is pretty expensive, which is roughly the fee that we pay Shelby County for one firehouse. We're subsidizing other firehouses throughout Shelby County. Not a lot. It takes, by our calculations, roughly 1.6 to run it. There's retirement, there's everything else. I don't want to get in that argument again. But regardless of that, if we're running 2 firehouses, $2.6 million looks pretty cheap. We could not do that individually. or as a city. So I would ask you guys to further this conversation, see if the TIF funding could possibly be used to go vertical, see if Shelby County has an interest in manning that firehouse. And then there's a second plot of land that the developer has been so generous to offer the city of Lakeland. Again, we did a study a few years back about the viability of changing City Hall location. None of us really got excited about it, but thought that, you know, there's a lot of history here. If it was something we may want to pursue down the road. However, we do have an organization within the city limits that we are responsible for their budget that is looking. They currently are inside of our facilities. There's been some conversations of Lakeland school system having a central office at some point. I don't know where. Again, I have not spoken with the school system, so I'm not saying that I'm speaking for them. However, it seems like there could be a good fit for us again, if there's any TIF money left over in that calculation, to help them, incentivize them to go ahead and be a part of that property. So anyway, so I've spoken enough. That's the idea. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to run with it.
Right. Thank you for that. Anybody else have anything they would like to bring to the floor?
Couple concerns.
You have the floor.
First of all, by definition, when a TIF is used to finance something, it's going to be, the money's going to be returned through taxes, through property taxes. You're not going to get any property tax off the fire station. You won't get any property tax off City Hall. No property tax off the Board of Education, one over there. But that is a good idea, the Board of Education part. Second problem is our city attorney's not here tonight. And I'm just not sure if it's proper for a government to go into a development and use that land, which we are helping to finance through a TIF for government use. I think every inch of that land needs to be used by building facilities that will produce property tax for the city, and sales tax for through the facilities he's building. So that's a big concern. I wouldn't do anything tonight until our city attorney looks at this and see if it's proper to go this right, because I would be concerned about it.
Sure. You can have the floor. Absolutely.
Again, I do not speak for the city attorney. However, he did the resolution for me. I asked him to write it in a way that he was comfortable it being approved if it were to graciously see a vote and graciously be accepted. So the city attorney did write this document, and he is comfortable with the language. Again, it is not binding. The idea is that you guys as a board or the next board would pursue this in your own way, in your own manner. And then just the idea is to kind of keep this in front of us. Keep it in front of us.
Sure, you have the floor.
The way I'm interpreting it, I think I'm interpreting correctly here, is it's exploratory. It doesn't mean from henceforth, you know, it's more like we're going to take a look at it. And I think it's something that is a worthy pursuit. I'm glad you agree about the education office. I think it's something that makes the development we're discussing here more complete. To have municipal uses, but like I said, I think it's just exploratory. It doesn't mean we're going to execute it.
Mr. Dowd, you have the floor.
I see it as that the city attorney would then negotiate applicable agreements and applicable approvals, and that would just be legwork to see if this could even be done, but that this resolution sets us up to be able to explore the option, to see if it's possible, and to see if that would be a way to have more TIF money at their disposal to be able to create these two civic use.
Sure.
I just wanted to bring you guys' attention to the last whereas. It says, whereas the Board of Commissioners desires to authorize the mayor, city manager, and city attorney to negotiate applicable agreements and seek applicable approvals including local and state, which might be necessary to authorize the city to use TIF funds for construction of public buildings on 2 future civic use parcels located at Lakeland Commons project. The reason why I asked you to take a look at that is because I specifically asked him to put the mayor, city manager, and city attorney in here. I think we're in a unique position that our city mayor has favor with Shelby County. I think that he could be in a unique position to help us do something unprecedented here. So that was not by mistake, and I would expect all of you guys to be involved, but more so, I think, Mr. Mayor, that you and Shelby County could sit down and maybe do something special.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure. Yeah, if you would just come to the podium so we can hear you.
Just to point out one thing, the TIF funds that we're talking about on this resolution are hypothetical and are going to remain hypothetical unless the developer's project is able to go. There'll be no TIF funds unless the project's able to go forward in some way.
Thank you. Certainly understand that comment for sure. I'll just kind of sum up my thoughts. I mean, this is new to me. I know you added this yesterday, and I'm just really starting to kind of digest it, and I definitely appreciate that thought process and where you're going with all that. And from a financial standpoint, the only thing that, that raises a little heartburn with me, and if in fact we start to overpromise and undercommit, or overcommit, or however that works, I just don't want to see us investing in something that's another one of the nice to haves. I think we'd all love to have a family or a town center, and go where we can hang out on the weekends and go have ice cream with the kids and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, there's a lot of things the city needs. I've spoken of infrastructure way too long in the last 2 years. But let's talk about some of the fun stuff that the families have moved here for. First and foremost was the school. We figured that out. It took a little while, but we figured it out. And it works for everybody. I've never heard anyone complain that their taxes went down 1 penny and we were able to build a high school. And we were able to build the premier high school over and above what was asked for. But I think we need to really start to prioritize what our civic duty is to provide for the citizens. The next thing that I see from the things that I've read on social media, which I do stay off of 90% of the time now, thank God, but what people have sent me emails about or talked to me on the street about or in the store is they want us to finish our recreation center. They want us to put our park together. They want a place for their kids can play soccer and baseball and tackle football and all the fun things that we do here in Lakeland. And it seems like it's time to focus on that maybe first. I mean, our city hall's aged. We got some new technology in the last couple of months, but it works. So I don't want to see us invest a ton of money one way or the other when we can focus on now maybe something that's a little more nice to have that provides for the citizens and the families. They got nice houses. We got the top-notch school in my opinion, and I know most people feel that way as well. Congratulations to Ms. Lockhart, by the way. I did mention her on social media, and she's done a fabulous job, got another award. But I think it's time that we focus on our recreation area, and we build our park like we've been promising for decades to do, and we figure out how to make that, let that be the next big ticket item that the city goes for. I just see that we're going to have to continue with our infrastructure, our sewer, that all costs money. Our paving budget's way behind, that's going to take money. I love talking about all this stuff, and it's great to be a visionary and think long-term down the road, but it all comes back to me is how you're going to pay for it. And if this could work out with TIF money, then we might have an out there. But I just think our priority over and above a town center needs to be our kids and our parks. And I know Commissioner Dow would echo that because she gets directly from the parents. I get it kind of indirectly from the parents, but I know they are just craving to have a sports complex here, and we need to provide that for them. There's no doubt about that. So that's all I really have to say. I kind of went off track, but it kind of talks about vision and big picture based off of what this resolution has to hold. So with that, sure.
Just, we don't need to lose focus of the fact that our city is growing, and with the Lake District coming out of the ground and more neighborhoods coming out of the ground, the need for fire, the need for a second station. So we don't need to negate that, and just to even consider the option of putting it there as it was designed originally. I don't think we need to dismiss the option of having the potential of being able to do that, especially if there were some other funding options available to us.
I'll call for the vote.
All right, Madam Recorder, if you would please call the vote on Resolution 13.
Vice Mayor Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
No.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
I'm going to abstain this time with the lack of information.
3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
All right,
Mr.
motion
Mayor,
passes. Yes,
I'd like to request the floor. Like I
Sure.
said, I have a 550 hard stop. I would like to make the motion to reconsider item 3.
all right, do I have a second to reconsider item 3?
Yes. Oh, there, I'm sorry, yes.
All right, I have a motion to revisit item 3 and a second. Do we want to discuss anymore?
If you don't mind, I'd like
Sure.
to say why I said that.
Absolutely.
With the prospect of sitting down at the table, discussing future public improvements with what Commissioner Gonzalez said about, not feeling comfortable with the attorney not being here, I'd really like for this motion to reconsider to pass, and then maybe, Mr. Mayor, with this resolution that just passed, you can take that, whatever the next BOC takes that, you guys all sit down with the developer and, and council. After hearing from their council, I think you would be wise to hear from your council, and really table this until your next BOC meeting.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure, you have the floor.
Yes, I began to feel a little bit uncomfortable after hearing this statement from the developer's attorney, and with our attorney not being here for us to be able to ask him questions about the ramifications of these prior votes. I agree.
All right. We have officially brought Resolution 3 back to the floor, and a second had discussion. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Mayor, I don't really know how the procedure works, so I think I'm going to proceed with caution if you don't mind. I think we vote on the motion to bring it to the floor first, and then it's officially back on the floor.
Okay, absolutely. You are correct. And I can see Will in here shaking his head up and down. Yes. Okay, so this is a vote to bring the resolution back to the floor as brought from the floor. Madam Recorder.
Vice Mayor Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Abstain.
Commissioner Wright,
No.
Mayor Cunningham,
I'm going to say yes, we need to bring this back to the floor.
3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to table this item until your next BOC meeting.
Do I have a second to table?
Yes.
Okay, so now,
So that our attorney can be present.
okay, so I have a motion to table resolution number 3. We brought it back to the table. And a second, any discussion? I'll call for the vote. Madam Recorder, motion to table resolution number 3.
Vice Mayor Norman,
Yes.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Abstain.
Commissioner Wright,
Abstain.
Mayor Cunningham,
Abstain?
Having 2 noes, 3 abstentions there.
All right, so the motion to table,
Yes, it failed.
failed.
Yes, sir. Two in favor, 3 abstentions. That failed.
Okay, I'm just trying to keep my notes straight here because I'm got your notes all over the page now. So now the motion is officially back on the floor. The table failed. Any further discussion on the motion or the resolution as presented? All right, hearing none, Madam Recorder, if you would, please call the roll on resolution number 3.
Okay. Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Abstain.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
I'm gonna again abstain.
2 yes, 2 abstentions.
All right. Motion does not seek majority, therefore it fails. All right. Let's move now to, we have moved resolution 14 under 13 before we get back in line with the resolution. Laura, would you please read resolution number 14?
Resolution instituting a 24-month moratorium on new multifamily developments.
All right, sponsor that, I will bring that to the floor.
Second.
All right, motion made by myself, seconded by Commissioner Wright. I'll just give you a little brief reasoning as to why I decided to clarify this. Everybody knows, it's no secret in this city that the distaste for multifamily is through the roof. It seems to be the one big hot button. And I just want the citizens of this city to know that I am listening to what they say. And we can talk about semantics and whether they're apartments or whether they're lofts or whether they're over retail or whether, the issue, as I feel in my heart of hearts, that this city feels is multifamily at this point in the growth of our city will well exceed our capability to serve that many new citizens that quickly without building the backbone first. I took a deep dive into the apartment moratorium that we put on, and I feel like that pretty much, from a legal perspective, only points to standalone apartments. I want to build an apartment complex, and it doesn't address the other types of multifamily. Well, if the problem is too many people that we can't support coming into town too quickly, then it makes sense to not just say it's standalone apartments. It's actually the fact of multifamily dwellings all in and of themselves. So that's all I did, was I presented this because I want to clarify to the folks out there that want to come here and want to build. At this juncture in the city, we don't have what we need to support any more multifamily than what we already have on the book. And it's in the resolution that the stuff that's already approved is set aside from this. So the Lake District and Lakeland Commons both, Lakeland Town Center, I'm gonna start doing that right, is not, this does not apply to them. So it's anything new and above that. I believe the 813-ish number is what's been tossed around. I believe that's a huge number that we're gonna really have to work hard to sustain once it actually starts getting built and occupied. Hopefully we can prepare between now and the time that it actually does get built and we start occupying that, because it's gonna affect the schools, it's gonna affect the sewer system, it's gonna affect all that. That's all part of the resolution as well. I'm just trying to let everyone know I'm listening to what you're saying and I understand. Let's not play semantics in Lakeland. Let's talk about what the issue is, and it's multifamily dwellings as a whole. let's put a moratorium on 24 months. I chose that number because that's the time I have sitting in this seat. So why not take this time and really bunker down with the new folks that are coming on in November, December, whenever that time frame shakes out. And let's really put a plan together on how we can be successful, but yet keep Lakeland the unique place that people love and want to come and live. I know people are beating down the doors to buy single-family dwellings here. I know they're looking for land. I know that for a fact. So it just behooves us at this point to put, just hit the brakes a little bit on multifamily development as a whole. I believe that could be something that could really crush us over time. And I think that 24 months is not too long to put into play. Should things change in 2 years, this could become East Wolf Chase or Germantown Road. God, I certainly hope not. I'll pray every night that it doesn't ever become that, because we've all invested too much in this community, and I just want to see us do it right. And I believe in the next 2 years we can put this together where it might be sustainable to bring in more of the high-end loft over retail type multifamily. It's just not right now. We've got enough on the books and enough approved that we're arguing over some tonight, as a matter of fact. But I just believe that that's where this resolution came from. You know, I didn't just think it up. It's something that I believe the citizens of this city want. They've longed for. They've told me time and time again. I know they've told everyone on this board that. And I think it's time that we make a statement that we're going to listen to them and we're going to do what they want us to do for right now. And if it's just tapping the brakes for 24 months, then that's fine. But it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't affect whatever else that we already have going and that's been approved and in place. So with that, that's really all I have to say about what that is. I want to clear it up tonight. I think that the citizens deserve that. They've been talking about it for years, and it's gotten really hot the last couple of months, especially the last couple of weeks. So I just believe we can stick a stake in the ground and say by this time, 24 months from now, we'll know what's best for making this decision going forward. So I would appreciate your support on that. Sure.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think everyone's on the same page. I agree, it is a big hot topic. It seems to get more and more so. I'll be okay extending it more than 2 years. The reason I say that, maybe 4 years or something, because we need to be able to allow ourselves cushion to redo our regs. You know, we talked about it, and I think it's something that may need a little bit more cushion than just 2 years, because previously it took, I think, 6 or 7 years to do that. I think you just allow yourself more time so that when we hire a firm to actually redo our books so that we can properly reflect what our citizens want as a vision for our city, I propose we just do 4 years. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I had to actually have Shane send me the old resolution that we all, approved unanimously about the standalone multifamily developments, just to see what the basic differences were, because we were all in favor of that action. And I think that whoever sits on the new board could bring this back up again if we needed to extend it to look at our vision. And I wholeheartedly agree with this moratorium, because it does say, except for the applications that have already been approved at any stage in the development process by the city, including any of its boards, departments, and commissions. So we are protected by that. And I call for the vote.
Thank you so much. I have one other Commissioner Dawes asked from the floor, and I will let him have that, and I'll close the remarks and we can have the roll call.
Thank you. It's intriguing to extend it a couple of years, but again, we've talked and talked and talked. I think we put fire under our seats and get it done in 2 years. I think that's essential. If we give ourselves more time, guess what? We'll use more time. So let's keep it 2 years.
All right, fantastic. I guess it is time for Madam Recorder. Would you She's multitasking, she's good at that. Please call the roll on resolution 14.
Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, everyone. I know that means a lot to everybody out there listening and paying attention now. Like you say, I really want the citizens to hunker down and engage themselves with this government for sure.
I know, would it be an inconvenience if we have a motion to dismiss as a result of this meeting running into the IDB meeting? People are beginning to arrive, and I know that we have a very lengthy agenda. Are there things that are pressing on this agenda that we could bring to?
There are certainly pressing items on this agenda. I would respectfully ask the board to, especially items that the developers are here again.
Okay.
They were here on October 8th. They didn't get their agenda item heard then. So the Evergreen Plan Development, the Regency, Phase 2 of Kensington Manor. And I'm gonna ask Emily to see which items are pressing for her. We do have a contractor here for solid waste disposal. I'd like to get that cleared up tonight as well.
Okay, then I would draw.
I can't.
No, that's fine.
I can't-
I'm just seeing people come in
I can have
and
the
moving
IDB
around.
move over to the conference room and we can get
Okay.
that meeting started.
Okay,
So they're not waiting around.
because I know we shifted our
I
meeting.
can all kind of get those items through.
Yes, we'll continue down the agenda, and I was under the understanding, I'm looking at the clock up here continuously, I thought we had till 6:30, and I apologize to the IDB if it was 6, so absolutely.
Yeah, 6.
Most of these things are no-brainers, so we can move pretty fast.
All right, let's move on then to resolution number 4, please, Madam Recorder.
Resolution to approve of concept sanitary sewer plan for Evergreen Plan Development.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
motion and second. Let's see, would the developer like to speak on behalf?
Mr. Mayor, again, Corey Brady, 9967 Denwood Creek Cove, Collierville, Tennessee. Really, I'm here to answer any questions and probably at the time say what it is. I think everybody's familiar with this project. I can give a full presentation. Everyone here, I believe, has seen it, but any questions you may have, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
I know I'm prepared, so.
Arm's yours at least.
All right, Madam Recorder, any further discussion from the board here? All right, Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll on resolution number 4.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, if you would go ahead and move on down to resolution number 5.
Number 5, resolution to approve an amendment to the Evergreen Plan Development Outline Plan.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and second. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Donovan, is there anything you would like to present? I apologize for your city.
That's all right. So I'll just mention briefly, and then I can take any questions. Plan Commission recommended approval of this. Overall, they were happy with the amendment that they asked the developer to bring back. There are 5 conditions that they passed along without approval, and we'd like to see those continue on.
All right, fantastic. I'll speak to that. I was here for the NBC, as was Commissioner Wright, and I have commended the developer and Corey both for listening to what the suggestions were when they first came with a preliminary sketch plan, so to speak, and they worked around all of our old growth trees, and they're developing in the places where the land's already cleared, and they're being very conservation minded. And that is absolutely, I'll say it like I did there, it's absolutely the type of development that we want to see going on in Lakeland. And I commend them beyond for doing that and listening. And it might have hit their pocket a little bit for doing things a little different, but I think overall at the end, they will see the fruits of their labor come back to them tenfold. So I certainly appreciate that, and that's just phenomenal. I told you last week, and I'll tell you again, I appreciate you guys for sure. Sure.
Just one quick question, I'd ask Corey to come back. We did talk about moving that exit that's going to Evergreen as far north as we could, and I thought we were going to put it in the NPC conditions. That didn't happen. So at some point down the road, we don't do it tonight, but I'd just like to get that pretty much guaranteed that will be moved.
I put it on the record that we can work with you, and wherever that would go will be based on the tree survey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Well, good enough, I just want to make sure we're
Yes, sir.
good going that.
Absolutely.
You're excused.
Thank you, Corey.
Yes.
All right, Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll on resolution number 5.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Resolution number 6, please.
Resolution to approve the preliminary development plan for Evergreen, Phase 1.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion second, motion's on the floor. Mr. Donovan.
Okay, so this complies with the amendment you just approved for the overall PD. Again, Planning Commission did place 5 conditions on that. These are similar to the 5 conditions that were in the PD amendment. Those are in the staff report and in the resolution themselves, but this complies with the PD. And they recommended approval of it.
All right. Any further discussion? Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dow,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham,
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
Right. Fantastic. Great work, guys.
Thank y'all.
All right. Madam Recorder, resolution number 7, please.
Resolution.
you very much. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a residential subdivision development contract with Regency Home Builders, LLC, for a 22-lot subdivision to be known as Kensington Manor Planned Development Phase 2.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion to second, motion's on the floor. Miss Emily.
So this development contract was approved back in January of 19, and the language of the development contract gives the developer 1 year to fully execute, and that was not done, but they are ready to execute it now, so it's more of a formality to bring it back before you guys. Nothing has changed, the construction plans have all been approved. We're just basically starting the timeline over on the development contract, but I believe they are ready to execute it now.
All right.
Question.
Sure.
It actually has all the area, I think I've asked this before, I want to make sure we get it kind of repeated. All the area been cleared, the major vegetation has already been knocked down.
I believe they cleared most everything.
Front end,
There-
just make sure.
There may be a little bit of clearing, but I think most of it's done.
Donnie Culver, 3157, Highway 64, East, it's 3028. Everything's cleared, was already cleared for this PD. There may be some fringe vegetation that's grown over, a couple of years or something.
Right,
like that.
volunteer stuff.
Flushed out.
Yeah.
However, there is a part of Chambers Chapel Road that the city wants the first 2 lanes to be set. And so it's just 2 lanes, not the future 5 or whatever that is in there, but that does have to be threaded through to, what's the name of this room?
That's all, yeah, okay.
So there will have to be some trees removed there
I understand.
for Chambers Chapel Road, but that's it.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Evergreen on the very end of it, Evergreen will dead end, like a cul-de-sac on 70.
When we extend Chambers Chapel.
Right.
fully. So they will extend it a certain length, and then the city will have to pick up the last piece of it.
We're paying a fee in lieu of for the other half of the lanes
Right.
when it goes through the town already have money.
That makes sense. Yeah, that'll be needed for north-south connectivity, because after C-Tick, it's a long stretch.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
till land.
right. Yep, all right.
So, yeah, and the Evergreen connection right now is not very safe,
No.
as everyone knows. So that will turn into a cul-de-sac, and then the connection will be at Chambers Chapel. at that point. That's at the end of phase 5.
Right.
So this is phase 2.
All right, fantastic. Any, sure. Commissioner
I have one question for the developer. There were some trees taken down last week in the center of the project. I didn't, and
Yeah, yes, sir, every one of them were dead, and
Dead?
I actually called Matt out and looked at every one of them, I was like, it's dead, I'm okay, take it down.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it was 5 trees. Oh,
Okay. you're watching.
Yes, sir. I know what town it is. Take them down.
welcome to Tree City.
That could be our means. Some guy in this.
That's a good. All right, any further discussion? Madam Recorder, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
Yes.
4 in favor, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Fantastic. We're rolling on down. Emily, you want to just kind of stand at the podium for the next 3?
I will.
Madam Recorder, number 8, let's get it on the floor first officially.
Number 8, resolution to approve the purchase of a 2021 Chevrolet Colorado in cab 4WD LT from Freeland Chevrolet through State of Tennessee statewide contract number 064409.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion on the floor, second. Emily, your turn.
So this is a truck that's budgeted in this year's budget. We're gonna purchase it off of state contract. It's a truck that'll be used for, in the Public Works Department, actually for the Public Works manager, to drive to supervise crews, provide emergency response, all those things. When I was looking at this, doing this memo, I was looking back because our fleet is fairly old and the average age of our fleet is about 12 years old. So we're trying to slowly, he has already put together a capital plan going forward and kind of rated the vehicles based on mileage and repair costs and things like that. So you'll see that coming up in future budgets where we're trying to turn over our fleet where we have a more reliable fleet.
All right. So you think mine's 13 years old?
Well, that's fine, but
It ain't fine.
at some point you need something reliable and he's a 24/7 responder.
I know.
It gets to where the cost of maintenance doesn't preclude just buying something new.
Exactly.
I'll just say it's gonna be hard for a Ford guy to vote for a Chevrolet, but you know that.
Quality of job one.
That's right.
There's a repair day.
Don't start with that, because we got a agenda we need to get through. So. All right, any further discussion? Madam Recorder, it's your turn. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
Right. Would you please read resolution number 9?
9, resolution to approve the purchase of a T66 T4 Bobcat compact track loader from Williams Equipment and Supply Company through Tennessee State Contract 050630.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion and seconded.
So we have money for this in our budget this year. It was not something that we had planned on purchasing. Our skid steer required more maintenance than we were willing to invest in it, to the tune of $6,000 to $7,000. And it was pretty old, and so we decided to use some of the monies that we had budgeted for other equipment to purchase this. So this is again off the state contract. We're going with a Bobcat this time. We had a New Holland before. This is a tracked machine. We had a wheeled before. Tracks tend to leave less damage. And we use it in public works for drainage repair, street repair, loading rock and sand, things like that.
Very versatile piece of equipment. I'm glad to see us getting a new one, because once they start, they're expensive, so. All right, Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, resolution number 10, please.
Number 10, resolution to approve the purchase of a ONAG Cunningham laboratory roller from ONAG Americas Incorporation. through Sourcewell contract number 032119-BAI.
So moved.
Second.
All right, floor is open for discussion. Emily?
So again, these monies are budgeted in this year's budget under street aid for heavy equipment. This is an asphalt roller. It's larger. The one we have is a smaller roller, and it's actually, it was used when we purchased it, and it's kind of on the list also, but, so this roller we had planned on purchasing this year. It's a little larger, it'll do better patching, more of the size patches that we do. So, again, it's an asphalt roller used by Public Works to do our street patches.
Fantastic. Another new piece of gear, it's budgeted, should be a no-brainer. All right, fantastic. Any other discussion? Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Would you please read resolution number 11?
Resolution to approve a contract with Quad County Environmental Solutions, LLC, for landfill disposal services.
All right, I'll bring that to the floor.
Second. Change your mind.
Why not? Keep Deborah on her toes. All right, Emily.
This is some good news. So we have sort of been awaiting the Quad County opening. They are actually owned by the same company as Team Waste, our hauler. But they have been working on getting the Class 1 landfill opened in Byhalia, and it is open and functioning. And so we put out an RFP to get pricing from anyone who wanted to submit pricing for additional landfill disposal services. So we still have our contract with Republic. We currently pay $28.33 per ton. The Quad County rate, they were really the only one that submitted a bid. Republic also submitted, but it was the same. They basically just submitted the contract that they currently have. So Quad County's rate is $19.94 per ton. We dispose of about 5,500 tons of household waste per year, so this will be about almost a $50,000 savings.
Wow.
5,500 tons?
5,500 tons per year.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not as much as a lot of our neighboring municipalities, but it's still.
That's big.
Yes.
Huge.
There is one other little caveat that's not really related to the bid, but Team Waste, just to show that they're good partners, and with the city, they have offered to not raise our collection rate for this next year. So that's just showing they have provided excellent service for us. I can't say enough about their customer service. Anytime we ever have an issue, they're quick to respond, and it's been a really good relationship. So that just kind of furthers that relationship that we have with them. All right.
Fantastic. Any other questions? All right, Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Commissioner Dow?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Cunningham?
Yes.
4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you for saving us some money and maintaining the
Thank
rate.
you, guys. We appreciate the
Thank you.
business. Thanks, Shane. Thank you.
All right, and finally, the last resolution, number 12, please.
Resolution approving change order number 3 for the medical maintenance building contract.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Emily, you have the floor.
Okay, I'm trying to get a maintenance building built for Public Works. This has proven to be quite a challenge for some reason. So we are currently under contract with Legacy Construction. It's a 60 by 132, I think, metal building. So what they're under contract for is the slab, the building, and sort of the rough end of the utilities under the slab. So the structural engineer, we are planning on one side of the building putting a compactor for recyclables so that we can hopefully haul to Chester County at some point in the future and get a better rate on our recycling processing. The structural engineer recommended that we kind of beef up that concrete section, so more steel and more concrete. That's a big part of this change order. Also, I'm gonna have them go on and put the old water separator in, since they're doing the plumbing, just go on and make that connection. That was not included in their bid. That's part of this. And when they were doing some of the clearing, there were a few extra trees that we took out that were a little too close to the front of the building. And so that included that work also. So the change order is $43,508, and that's the work. Mainly it's the concrete and the rebar is the biggest chunk of that. We are currently bidding out the interior finish of the building, so I will be bringing that in November. So that includes the office. We plan to put an office in there, a restroom. There's a mezzanine above the office for the guys to have a break area, and then of course electrical and heating. It'll have gas heat inside of it. So that will be coming forward. This is to get, basically to finish off the shell of the building and the plumbing piece of it.
We've fallen pretty much in line with the budget, or
Yes.
were we, so?
Yes, so this is budgeted, yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. That was my only question.
This does not push us into a budget amendment, no.
Okay, good. Any chance we can put air in there for the poor guys? in
It
the summer?
is, yeah, so in the fit out, in the bid for the fit out, we are gonna use the, unit that we have back on the little metal buildings we have back here, but then they will put in the ductwork and all that. We will not have air conditioning in the garage part, but it will be in the office and the restroom.
Yeah, excellent, okay.
We'll have the, destratification fans in the main part of the building, which are supposed to help, keep it kind of cool, but.
Yeah.
But yes, we will let them have air in the office and restroom, for sure.
We're gonna take care of our guys. They're doing a great job, so.
Yes, yes.
absolutely.
They have it in the break room as well.
Yeah, so it's
mezzanine.
above the office, it's like a mezzanine, so pretty much the office and restroom, is being built so that it's floored and it'll have railing around it, so you go upstairs and it's above that. That's how they built it out.
Fantastic. All right, Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes. All right,
Mayor Cunningham.
yes. I was getting ahead of myself, sorry, y'all.
Three against.
All right, so all we have left is announcements. I just want to make one, not really an announcement, but I have just so we can all be on the same page. I wasn't unaware that we couldn't, by email vote, say to cancel a BOC meeting or a work session, whatever. Since we're all here tonight, I think the proper thing to do would be to publicly say we are looking at canceling the work session for November, but that we pick up with the regular meeting in November. Does that, you see where I'm gonna make sense, so that we can do that officially correctly going forward?
Yes.
And I'll try my best to stay aware of things, so when we look at the calendar for next year, we're working around fall break, spring break, all that kind of stuff as well for schools. But I just want to say tonight, I will make a motion that we cancel the work session for November. I think we'd already talked about this. I just want to do it correctly for the record. So do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the work session is officially canceled for November. We'll pick up with the regular BOC in November, see how the election goes and how the outcome is, and we'll do whatever's the best interest of whatever Will tells us. So, and then we can look at any other meetings that are upcoming that we can decide whether we want to address for December or whatever. So, all right, thank you all, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you everyone for sticking this one out. We got it done. It's just now 6:30.